Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for December 23rd, 2024. Coming up, we're going to recap the weekend and name our all-weekend team. I think Scotty Pippen Jr. made it, guys. And we've got Law Murray sitting down with Zena and Es to talk about his shooting rankings and Kawhi's comeback. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena. Good morning, Es. I don't know why my voice just cracked like that. Is this
inflection?
Leftover Vegas in my voice? Still recovering from the NBA Cup. But we had a full weekend of basketball, although a couple of nights with 3 games. I mean, 3 games on Sunday, kind of weird scheduling for the NBA, but everybody's back. We got back-to-backs for the Thunder and the Bucks, so they're looking tired already. But guys, we also had some pretty amazing performances over the weekend. So I thought we could catch up on what we missed and kind of get our feet back into the regular season after our NBA Cup. I'm trying to avoid this NBA Cup hangover that the Bucks seem to have.
Oh, yeah.
It's not been great.
Yeah.
So, guys, I think we start with the best player ever. Steph Curry had himself a game against the Wolves. 31 points, 10 assists, coming back off that embarrassment against Memphis. Zena, that was the worst game I've ever seen from Steph and Draymond combined.
0 field goals for either of them. First game in Steph Curry's career that he's played 15 minutes and not been able to score a basket.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wild. Yeah,
well,
he answered back. Yeah, he answered back in a major way against Minnesota, and he poured in 31 points, had 10 assists, had 13 points in that fourth quarter. I thought he just was the regular Steph Curry that we know and love. I mean, the 3-point shooting was a barrage. It's interesting, though. Anthony Edwards, after the game, was blaming the officials, saying, yeah, we didn't get enough calls. Me and Julius Randle are 2 of the most aggressive players in the league, and we don't get enough calls. It's like, brother, you didn't play enough defense. That was the issue. That is the big issue. There were 4 different situations where there were mistimed rotations, or Anthony Edwards, kind of jumped out of a different spot, or Julius Randle was slow to recover out to Steph Curry, and he'd stay home on the corner to Gary Payton II, which is at what point do you just throw away the game plan and say, Steph Curry, the greatest shooter on planet Earth, is going off right now? How do we contain him?
We've been saying this for over a decade, and nobody's figured that one out.
That is true.
So,
that is true.
Somehow Steph Curry still gets loose. I don't know.
But blame the officials. Blame the officials, though. That's the reason you lost. Yeah.
If we had an all not weekend team, I think Julius Randle would maybe be on that one.
Absolutely.
Let's go down to San Antonio because Victor Wembanyama is the scariest guy on the planet.
Yeah,
42 points in an overtime win over the Atlanta Hawks.
Accurate.
7 of 15 from 3. Zena, do you remember that night that I said he needs to stop shooting threes?
Yeah,
he's hit a million.
He's hit a million, and he's also been so efficient. The fact that the whole conversation around too many shots being had, and I understand your 7-footer. Taking shots on the outside is not ideal when he could be inside the paint, but when he's shooting 50% in a game, it's not so bad, folks. And, he did this, the 42 points against the Hawks, and then turns around against the Portland Trailblazers. Does the same thing, 30 points out of him, 10 blocks. It's unfair.
It is unfair.
It's
he's
unfair
a video game character. Look, when we were kids, or at least when I was a kid, I'm much older than you guys, but the video games, you could break the physics of the game by making a guy who was Victor Wembanyama, and he's breaking the physics of the sport. And it's fun. It's fun to watch. But what I'm interested in is as he gets better, I want to see what teams do to throw him off. And definitely they try to get into him and stuff to try to just mess with his jump shot.
Guys,
but
he got to 200 threes faster than Steph Curry. And I know Steph had injuries early in his career, which is the caveat here, but still that is unreal to think
that's an absurd stat.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum had himself a game against the Bulls. Not the game that they lost, by the way. Did not have himself a game in that game. Zach LaVine had a nice game in that game. But Jason Tatum had a great game on Saturday, kind of a bounce back for the Celtics against the Bulls to get a win. 43 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. But I think that what we're really going to take away is that poster. I mean, he just absolutely just destroyed them.
Yeah, I hope the NBA dunk meter respects that poster. You know, the dunk score has been all over the place. I know No Dunks has been on it for a while and how inaccurate that's been, but I need them to like give this a perfect score of 100, because when Jason Tatum, who, by the way, is like a really great athlete, you know, we talk about the 3-point shooting and the conversation and all that type of stuff, but like when he gets downhill like that, open space, that was very nice.
Also, Donovan Mitchell, the Cavs guys, 25-4. Donovan Mitchell had 27 the other night. We're getting to the point, Zena, where the Cavs have become so solid and so good. We're not even talking about them anymore. Remember when they lost that first game? We were doing a segment every night, and now they're still 25-4. This is still a championship level start to the season for them, and it's because they got Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, and the thing about this game, particularly against the Milwaukee Bucks, I think there was a lot of hype, particularly out of the East. Maybe not in the West, but there's a lot of hype in the East because this was supposed to be a measuring stick game for the Milwaukee Bucks after just winning the cup. Them saying, we're not going to celebrate. We still got, championship, a real NBA title on the line here. And the Cavs were like, we love that you hung your banner. That's real cute. But we're still the Cavs. And Donovan Mitchell, of course, deserves all the praise in his singularity, but also his surrounding cast, particularly Evan Mobley. Like,
yes,
they're just so balanced. We've been saying this all season. They are so well constructed, and they showcase exactly why the Cavs are sitting pretty at the top of, in the East.
That's a team that should maybe get 3 and possibly 4 All-Stars. Like that, they've been that good to start the year. I think they're the story in the East, right?
Yeah.
They might. I mean, the fan vote, if it carries any sway, I don't know. That's tough because it's Cleveland. Guys, we have got to catch up on Joel Embiid because I think, is he back? I mean, he had 34 points, 9 assists. Look, and people are going to discount it and say it was against the Hornets. I don't care. He made our all weekend team. Yeah. Guy's he's got these bad knees. He's got this broken, the most unique sinus fracture that you have ever seen in the NBA. And he puts up 34 and 9. So all I'm thinking to myself is he might be feeling a little better outside of his face, or maybe the face just hurts so bad that the knee doesn't bother.
The pain is just not showing up in his knees. That's funny. Look, they're slowly climbing up the Eastern Conference standings too, just very slowly creeping themselves up. And it's not that hard. It is the East, admittedly, but like 9 and 17 so far. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Paul George is playing a little bit better. Tyrese Maxey is back. So like health seems to be very important for the Philadelphia 76ers, and no one more important than Joel Embiid when it comes to that conversation.
Well, they're getting the guys that they expected to start the year with. And, no Jared McCain, because obviously he's out with that knee injury. So they don't have the special surprise, but at least you have the team that you thought you were going to have to start the year, albeit it's early in the gelling process. Guys, we added a new spot to the all weekend team this week.
Rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty Pippen Jr. got the start the other day. Ja Morant missed the game against the Hawks. Scotty Pippen Jr. has been having himself a really nice season, and he was great in this game. Look, what Memphis is doing, Zena, you can say, okay, it's Ja Morant. He gets 2 feet in the paint all the time. Jaren Jackson, we know what he does. But it's because they've found guys like Scotty Pippen that can come in and play. I mean, it's kind of amazing. They're blowing teams out of the water, Ja Morant or not.
Correct. And the Memphis Grizzlies right now have a lot of supporting castmates that are down to do whatever it takes to get a win. And I would say the leader of that group is Scotty Pippen Jr. Just thinking about his story coming from the G League into this position, there's been a lot of hype around a particular progeny out in LA. But this progeny here in Memphis has really showcased exactly why he deserves a spot in the NBA, playing two-way defense and also being a floor setter. In his last 5 games, he's had a game where he had 9 assists and a game where he had 12 assists. Score or not, that is producing something for the Memphis Grizzlies. But particularly this game, 22 points in a win against the Hawks, filling in for Ja Morant. You don't want any drop off. And with Memphis wanting to take over the Western Conference and continue creeping up the ranks, like this is exactly what you want to see in your backup point guard. He's so solid. He sees the floor incredibly well. His IQ is sharp and he wants it. You can just tell he's a gritty player. And so I love that the Memphis Grizzlies have him as a backup in the case that Ja Morant needs a little bit of rest on the way to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's crazy you say that. He used to be a Laker. It's funny you brought up the Lakers angle.
That's true. He was in the South Bay Lakers. He did spend some time. I saw him in the G. Yep.
Memphis has done such a good job over the years of finding the guy who can play when Ja is out, because Ja misses time.
That's true.
And this is another guy in a long line of these guys that they just managed to pull out of the woodwork, although Scotty Pippen's been around for a minute and has really improved as a player. Guys, stick around after the break.
Wait. We missed someone here in this conversation.
What? Did we?
Cade Cunningham.
Ooh, yeah, we gotta talk about Cade.
Well, he's not on my list, S.
Listen,
this is a late edition.
I know this is anti-Pistons propaganda here from Dave. But no, look, Cade was awesome. They beat the Phoenix Suns. He's shooting a career high from 3. I just want to put it out there. He's looking like an all-star this year. Just wanted to mention
just
that
a reminder,
before we throw
the Phoenix Suns had a 43-point game from Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And Cade Cunningham put them, with his cast.
Right. Who else was out there with KD?
Former number one overall pick.
Pistons beat a team that doesn't have an injury report like a CVS receipt. Please. Guys, stick around after the break. Zena and Es sat down with Law Murray to talk about his shooting rankings and Kawhi Leonard's imminent return.
All right, we are back with Law Murray, NBA writer for The Athletic, also resident stand-up comedian for The Athletic as well. We appreciate you always gracing us with your jokes on the NBA Daily. But something that's not a joking matter for some fans in the NBA is the shooting competition between the different teams. And we brought in Law because you just recently wrote your 3rd edition of the shooting rankings.
Third
annual, excuse me.
No, it's all good.
And I want to ask, what was the motivation behind this? Especially from the fan's perspective, what do you hope that the shooting rankings provides for the fan in terms of looking at the game and being able to evaluate the efficiency of their teams?
I will say this. I really like doing the shooting rankings almost because I want to show that the game is not just a make or miss league. That's my favorite part about it. And that's really ironic. I know, people get excited about the ability to put the ball in the basket, especially to do it from distance, to do it frequently, to do it consistently. That's part of the reason why a lot of us watch basketball, because they do things that we're happy to do once, right? But I mean, I remember watching the Warriors and the Rockets 10 years ago, and I use both because of how different those two teams in particular a decade ago, what they showed us about shooting in particular, the frequency of it, the star players, especially Steph got his threes different than James Harden got his threes.
Right.
And when you see those teams clash in the playoffs, it's like they're both shooting a lot, but you can't possibly tell me that they do it the same way, that their teams get their shots the same way, that they approach offense the same way. And so I wanted to do these rankings because even though you're evaluating the same thing, you can basically show how different every team approaches the shot chart, how different their success is, and how different the ability to shoot correlates to, are they a team that can win games or not? And so that's the thing that I always like having that conversation of, okay, this is how I evaluate shooting across the league. I try and keep it basic, but even as digestible as this is, what does this tell us? Why does this matter? And that's really the basis for these rankings every year.
Yeah, there's a few categories that you go off. Mid-range field goal made, field goal percentage in the mid-range area, 3-pointers made, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, which gives, like you said, a good diversity for what kind of shots teams are taking and making. when you look at a team like the Boston Celtics, which I think is a really, really good launching point here for this conversation, because a lot of the online conversation has been about, oh, the Celtics are taking too many threes. Oh, there's this kind of onslaught of threes from every team in the NBA now. But what you wrote in this piece is that actually they're much more diverse than just a 3-point shooting team. They're out here getting shots from everywhere.
Well, that's what I thought when I was going to put this together. It's like I went to Boston and talked to Joe Mazzola. I asked JJ Redick a completely open-ended question, and he winds up bringing the Celtics up. And I'm like, well, that's going to be the quote that actually I hope my editors keep in the article. And what I learned, to be honest with you, I disagree. Yes, I don't think their shot profile is diverse at all. Like, I think we know the Celtics as the team that takes a lot of threes. Right. What the Celtics aren't is a team that is elite from an accuracy standpoint. Like, they hurt you because of their volume, but their volume hurts you in two ways that we don't discuss as much. I mean, we always talk about the Celtics as this elite 3-point shooting team because of how many guys in their rotation are 3-point shooters. We don't talk about them as a team that is literally in the middle of the league in 3-point accuracy. They're 15th in a 30-team league. They are in the bottom 10 in the mid-range. Now, when I did these rankings last year, Boston wasn't number 1 in the shooting rankings. They were in the top 10. They were like 7th, I believe. And it was like they were a whole lot more accurate shooting threes, but they were also a little bit better in the mid-range. They had mid-range players, or players who should be good in the mid-range, who aren't at that level this season. Right. And I feel like that is something that needs to be considered. Now, what does Boston get credit for? They do make more threes than you, but the reason they do that is because they defend. So they take away the three at a level that, again, we don't talk about. Everyone's like, oh, you got to be in a 3-point shooting contest. Well, the part of the 3-point shooting contest that Boston is good at is they take your threes away. Okay, we don't talk about that. We just want to focus on the offense. And then the other part is Boston makes sure that they don't beat themselves. They take care of basketball. That adds to your volume as well. So you're looking at Boston and it's like, oh man, the Boston Celtics, they like there's a game where they'll make 10 more threes than you. And we'll just talk about the offensive part of it and the shot making part of it. We don't talk about the process of it. So that's why it's like, hey, like we can't just look at, they make, 3-point attempts, for instance. Are you making shots? Are you making them efficiently? Are you getting them from different areas of the floor? And there's actually room to improve for even a team like Boston.
Now, you just mentioned the process, and I know that you spoke to a lot of coaches throughout this article. You kind of quote them throughout. And I wanted to ask about if your shooting rankings has impacted the process in which coaches are approaching their diversity of their shot profile. Like, are people looking at the fact that Houston missed 27 threes in a row back in 2018, and maybe that should change the way that things go about it? Or that the mid-range has disappeared from the shot chart in the NBA? Like, has any of this impacted the way that coaches, you think, are approaching how they're coaching their teams to shoot the ball?
Well, you brought up Mike Brown, you brought up the mid-range. I think one thing that coaches have always kind of said, well, the coaches that actually want their teams to take mid-range shots, because there are those coaches. There are coaches in the league who, like, and off the top of my head, I think of Memphis, I think of Minnesota, I think of Utah. Those are your shot desert teams. They want threes. They want the mid. They want the paint. They don't really like the mid range as much because of how they want their ball handlers to approach things, their shooters to approach things. But there are a lot of coaches who, even if their teams aren't taking the mid range as much, they value it. For the Clippers are a team where, I mean, Tyronn Lue has said twice in the last week about his team and about a team like the Dallas Mavericks, the value of 3-level scoring, how they want their guys to take more of those shots. And
especially with Kawhi coming,
exactly. Kawhi coming back adds a part of the shot profile that the Clippers are missing right now. Like, they would love James Harden, a player who used to be on those Rockets teams leading the way. And James used to say, I was allowed to take mid-range shots. No one else was. Right. And that is a funny statement because it's true. He had the choice. He had the options. And Zane, I think what your point you're getting at, we are in a place where players who are not primary ball handlers, players who get their shots created for them, right? You got your cooks, and then you got the guys that eat.
Hey,
and a lot of guys
real.
that eat can't. A lot of guys that eat can't cook.
Yeah, you also got your runners, right? You got your runners running the food to the cooks. All that. Yeah, it's a good bar. It's a good bar.
And so what we're talking about is those guys in the corner. You know, those are the guys who, you know, it's valuable if that guy can get closed out, take that one dribble, pull up. Some guys have that, some guys don't. Some guys are really in organizations and they're being told that, you know, bring that thing all the way to the rim, you know, and that's great if you can get there. It's not as great if you don't have that in your bags. And so, you know, Kyrie Irving, for instance, like Tyronn Lue, who he coached in Cleveland. And again,
right.
You look at those Cleveland teams, they shot a lot of threes, especially relative to their era, right?
Totally.
But one of the reasons he's as efficient as he is because he is as T. Lue describes him, a 3-level scorer. You know, he can play off the ball, especially with Luka, catch and shoot threes. He can get to the paint. He has the floater, which again, that's a star shot more than anything else. But he has the in-between game. And so you are not going to hear that as much in the regular season. We're going to hear a lot of the, you know, noise that we're hearing now. But every time that it becomes a conversation in the regular season, you don't hear it as much in the playoffs because in the playoffs
it changes. Yes.
Right. And what changes? The defenses are trying to take things away because they know, all right, you're a 3-point shooter. We're going to close you out. We're going to meet you at the rim. Oh, you're a team that doesn't take the mid-range. So we can actually, as a defense, leave that alone. But the players who understand that,
right,
they have advantages. We saw 2 years ago in the playoffs, Jamal Murray, where did he eat? As a primary ball handler, as Nikola Jokic's pick and roll partner, he was getting to that elbow, Chris Paul style, and looking like a dude who was going to make multiple All-Star games. Don't ask me why that hasn't happened yet.
Breaks my heart, Law. Breaks my heart.
The playoffs, that is a key differential for a lot of these guys, and the mid-range is a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you look at the 5 to 10 best players in the NBA, they all have that 3-level score mentality that you mentioned. Like the mid-range area is a crucial part of SGA's game. It's a crucial part of Jokic's game. It's a crucial part of pretty much any player on that top 5 list that you can name has an element of that mid-range area to their game. One guy who is elite at it is Kawhi Leonard. And, you know, obviously there's been reports that he is going to be coming back at some point before the end of the year. He traveled with the team during the road trip. That road trip is now almost over. How do you feel? Kawhi coming back, being reincorporated into this team. What is the vibe like when you're reincorporating a player like that, a superstar like that?
The vibe has been energizing for everyone involved. Everyone's in a better mood. They ain't not even playing that well.
Right.
You know, it's like they got something to look forward to.
They're still like half a game out of 5th, you know?
They are.
Yeah, right.
They are. I mean, the thing with the Western Conference is, ask me in 24 hours.
Right.
This show gonna go up, and you're gonna see something that you didn't see before we started taping this. That's how the West is right now. But that's the exciting thing is you have a player that's been with you. Also, it's not like Kawhi's been, you know, somewhere behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz style or Wicked style. I haven't seen the jar yet. I can't really make that. You know,
it's a good
don't quote
movie.
me
It's
too
a good
much.
movie. You're right. Yeah,
All good.
I need a chaperone to watch that movie. Anyway, but the thing is, he's been around. So when you get a guy like that now ramping up, you know, your team's on the road. He's not on the road trip, but you know he's, you know, getting himself ready. With whoever is back in the facility with him, it's like, okay, there's a step. And then you see him shooting. There's a step. Then he gets in to be in practice at a limited capacity. Got the red jersey on. Don't contact him, but he's there. That's a step. Right. What the step that they got before this road trip is you can touch Kawhi. He's a real basketball player now. You know what I'm saying? 5-on-5 full contact. You're excited about that. It's like, oh, this is really happening. He's able to participate, and the knee is not having issues, and that's a big part. It's like if anybody who does any activity, the first time they do it, they're like, yeah, I ran a 5K. And then the next morning, it's like, I ain't doing a 5K next week. Can't do it. Can't do it. It's like, all right, there's a step. He's on this road trip, which means that they play in the game. He's not playing the game, but in between the game, it's like, all right, Kawhi's getting work in on the road with the team. Now, that's another step. And so you have tangible, you know, you're feeling good. You're allowing yourself to feel good. Fans talk about this all the time, but damn it, organizations the same way. They, you know, I am prepared to be hurt again. Like they have put them something where it's like, all right, this guy is, you know, they've done everything right. They've by Kawhi, you know, Kawhi probably would have wanted to play a month ago. Okay. Because again, you think I'm good. Like my knee's fine. I've played through everything. We've seen Kawhi play hurt. Toronto Raptors. How many times did you look at that Eastern Conference Finals? Yeah. Exactly. And it's like Kawhi is a guy, he plays through stuff, and that's a problem a lot of the times. They were like, we're going to take extra time. We're going to make this team play however many games it takes so that that team has an identity, that you're not worrying about the in and out with Kawhi to get to this point. They've earned a chance to get Kawhi back. Kawhi's earned himself a chance to get back. And Friday night, you know, I don't want to say that's definitely the night just yet, but it's trending in that direction for sure.
Against Steph. Against
Steph. Just so
that
happens that it will be just against the Warriors. So
yeah, like
there'll be some close eyes on that game for sure. Law, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for breaking down the shooting rankings. Go read them on The Athletic, folks. Find out if your team has a good shot profile or not. And if they don't, go hit up Law in the comments. He'll respond. All right, guys. Thank you.
I'm going to start getting some of these Law Murray sayings put on T-shirts for the show. I think we're going to do that. That was awesome.
We got to take him to Wicked. Yeah,
we do got to take him to Wicked. No, I mean, go see it on London. Go see the live performance. Yes. I just think it's worth seeing. I'm not going to the movies. It's too expensive, as I talk about all the time. Guys, end of the show here. Time for our picks, our Christmas Day picks, brought to you by our friends over at BetMGM. Guys, Christmas Day, the games are, I'm not going to say not compelling, but the injury report is kind of getting in the way of Christmas Day. So as we're looking ahead and making our picks, I'm thinking, who's going to be available for the Phoenix Suns? Devin Booker's got this groin issue. Obviously, Bradley Beal's been dealing with stuff, and they're going to play the Nuggets on Monday. So I'm just like, what kind of gamesmanship is going to go on when you've got a back-to-back and that second game is on Christmas Day? So as we go through this, guys, what are your picks?
Ooh, it's actually, you're right. It is tough.
It's hard.
You stole the thunder a little bit from mine. And no, I'm not talking about OKC because they do not play on Christmas Day, folks.
Makes no
Our
sense.
national game for the cup was where you get your gift from the OKC Thunder. When it comes to the Suns playing the Nuggets, just like you said, don't know what's going to happen with the Suns in terms of Devin Booker being able to come back maybe on that third game. He was out this last game. He'll be out on Monday. Maybe he'll come back for Christmas. I still don't think it's enough. Christian Brown on the Nuggets side is probable. Don't think that that's going to be too much of a game changer, but Jokic is the game changer. And so I think I might be taking Nuggets over the Suns.
Okay, I like that. I think that's a fair pick. I think what the NBA wants is a Victor Wembanyama breakout party. Like one of those ones where everybody's like, man, who is this new guy in the NBA? He is now the ratings darling for everything that they do.
Fastest to 200 threes.
Fastest to 200 threes, all that type of stuff, right? So I'm going to say Wemby goes into MSG and beats the New York Knicks. How about that? How do you guys feel about that little upset?
I think the NBA would love that. And it's early enough that they could be watching it in France, which of course they love.
True. Yeah.
For me, guys, a little bit of a curveball here. I think the Sixers might beat the Celtics, and it's because of the things that we've laid out in this very episode. I've talked myself into this. The Sixers getting healthier, Joel Embiid getting back to looking more like Joel Embiid.
Yeah, he'll get up for that game too, right? Yeah.
Boston can miss some shots. I mean, Zena, you said it in our pre-show. What if Boston shoots 10% on Christmas Day from 3? And I just couldn't get that out of my head. So I'm taking the Sixers over the Celtics. Joel Embiid.
Wow.
Going to do it. He's going to get it done. That's going to get it done for us, guys. We'll be back with a Christmas Day preview tomorrow. In the meantime, though, for Law Murray, for Es Baraheni, for Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.